keep the cup.
Hello, folk buddies. This is turning into an interesting evening. I thought I was here to hear folk music. It could be legitimately argued that Calico Jack and folk music. Oh, but so far, a lady has pulled me out of my seat and required me to improvise a tango, and now the barman has said a thing. The barman has said a thing that's never been said before. Would you like to repeat what you just said? Free rum! Free rum! Free rum! Yeah, sure. Free rum and free tobacco! Who was it? Hello, I'm Andrew Ralston, and this is Folk Buddies. Now there's usually a bit there where the other voice says, I'm Clarrie Maguire, but actually she's not here. This is me by myself. This is very much folk no mates. Yeah, Clarrie is off having an existential crisis, so it's alright, because this is the week, we had a week like this last year, where I've been going to folk concerts, and she's been staying at home with her cartoons and the kitten, frivolous, like painting her flat. Actually, you know what she's been doing? She's been listening to things other than folk music. She's a traitor to the tradition. Have to cut all of this. Then, I wasn't going to go. But there's a lovely pub in Clifton called the Port of Call. When I was first in Bristol, the Port of Call was still actually a very nice pub, but it was full of slightly tacky maritime memorabilia. It was the sort of place with fishing nets and glass balls, and if you went into the gents, there were posters of how to catch different kinds of fish. I mean, you know, in general, at sea. They weren't expecting you to actually catch fish in the gents, but there were posters up about that, which have been replaced by posters about different kinds of nuclear power stations. Honestly. But it's been taken over in the last 12 months by very, very young, very enthusiastic guys. I think it's 2 guys and a girl, but 3 people anyway. And there's a guy who I guess is the landlord, but who's always there and in charge, and who behaves as if he knows everybody and is charming and funny. And there's the guy who knows absolutely everything about beer. I think he probably absolutely knows everything about beer as well. And the slightly sad pub food menu that it used to have has been replaced with pulled pork and your chilli and your just comfort food, very well done. The first time I ever went in there, I don't even think we'd ordered food, but the guy from the kitchen actually came out and made us taste this pulled pork to see how good it was. It's that kind of establishment now. And has, because it's up a hill, so it's a little bit hidden away, which in a funny way was why we used to like it, because it wasn't crowded. But, you know, if you are a fan of Gaz Brookfield and know his song Land Pirate, you may also know that he did a video for Land Pirate, and the video for Land Pirate is in fact filmed in the Port of Call. Although it's the Port of Call as it was when it was a slightly frumpy maritime pub. So, was there a point to this? I wasn't going to go, but I decided I would, and I was glad I did. Last night, they had billed a pirate night. There were going to be all sorts of exciting things happening. People were encouraged to go in pirate costumes. And the band was Calico Jack. Now, no one turned up in pirate costume except two lads from the drama college who so they didn't get out much because they are spending all the time being actors. But they come in fairly improvised pirate costumes. But we're having a lovely time. Calico Jack, I've heard once before in the canteen, and I wasn't very taken with. tonight they absolutely blew me away. What it tells you is the importance of venue and the importance of atmosphere. Although it's being promoted by the pub as a pirate night, and some of the patter that Calico Jack do is related to pirates and stuff, you might think that they're a shanty band with that name. They're really not. They are another band in that tradition that he seems to be taking off again in particularly, it seems, in Bristol and the west of England, of the, I'm going to use the term, I'm just going to invent the term circus band, because although one of the people I talked to in the bar said, "Oh, this is gypsy music," and another person I was talking to actually in the little boys' room while finding out about nuclear power stations said, "Well, I would call that klezmer." If I just use the words gypsy and klezmer, Clarrie, who's not here, will mock me. But it's that vaudevillian, carnival, bohemian party music with a full, you can see me miming what it is, a full accordion, trombone, fiddle, drums. None of the songs did I recognise. I think I had no idea whether they wrote the songs. I guess they wrote the songs themselves. The Hullabaloo as a sea shanty, maybe I wasn't aware of that. The songs, a lot of the songs faded into each other. They sang, here's one about the end of the world, and the Juniper Tree. That's a real folk song, isn't it? It absolutely doesn't matter. It absolutely doesn't matter. They, in that pub space, created a party. There were young people who'd come because they wanted to hear the band. There were young people who came because they were actors and didn't get out much. There were people who came expecting a pirate fancy dress night. There were old people on the tables just listening. There were some people in the other side of the bar who were mostly having their drink. There was a guy who does a folk podcast who was sitting at a table with his beer, doing the usual thing he does of just vaguely swinging his beer in time with the music. And then a young lady called Lily came up and grabbed this folk journalist and forced him to dance. Oh yes, we tangoed, or at least I span around and she span around, and we waved our arms. Then the nice affable barman he emerges and says, "Free rum! Have you ever been in a pub with the phrase free rum?" I mean, I don't know whether it was a promotion for Sailor Jerry. Sailor Jerry, is that what it's called? We got free cups to take away. It went on. There was a final song by which time the squeezebox lady had abandoned the stage and was mingling with the audience squeezeboxing. The main singer, who has goggles, like sort of steampunk Victorian goggles, is shouting, "All hands to the dance! All hands to the dance!" So everyone is dancing. And then we get to sort of, dry land ashore. We think we finished, and they do a pretty much unaccompanied straight sea shanty. And then the two guys, the two actor guys who take the trouble to come in costume, want a parrot. And why not? Oh, and then, when it had all finished, someone at the bar sort of demonstrated some chemistry experiments, some pyrotechnics, and there were some explosions. I think they'd probably been intending to have something, to incorporate that in the act in some way. Oh, you want me to say something intelligent about them musically? Intelligent about them musically, I expect they've been listening to Three Daft Monkeys, or if they haven't, then Three Daft Monkeys have been listening to some more famous band that I don't know. There was definitely a point where the lady singer, who's also the squeezebox player, was doing that slightly ecstatic, chanty, spoken poetry in the verse, which is quite characteristic of some of Three Daft Monkeys material. So that would be their influence, closer to that than to Ushti Baba. But all of these bands, Three Daft Monkeys, Ushti Baba, Calico Jack, they're all from the west of England. So I don't know whether there's a reason for that, or maybe there are three really good sort of gypsy klezmer bands in other places. I was at Cecil. Last Saturday evening, I was in Cecil Sharp House in Camden Town for a do called 10,000 Times a Do, which was a commemoration of the centenary, the 100th birthday, that is what centenary means, of Bob Copper. Bob Copper died, I think, about 15 years ago, so just before I was becoming interested in folk music, so I never heard him live. As someone said, how is it that we get so quick old and so slow smart? Ha! I have heard the Copper family themselves, of course. In fact, rather appropriately, rather correctly, I think that the first folk gig I ever went to was the group currently trading as the Young Coppers, performing in St George's in Bristol. So this was a big festival at Cecil Sharp House, which they were referring to as Bobstock, which clearly they thought was very, very funny. It was clearly a joke that they'd come up with during the rehearsals, or possibly during the study day, which I didn't get to go to. And they thought it was very funny, and they thought that every time they said Bobstock, the audience would shout Bobstock, like on Calico Jack, and it didn't really work, actually. And the people sitting behind me, who were clearly veterans of folk clubs, were getting very, very, very irritated by it. Who said that? That's about the only thing I could say that wasn't that didn't quite come off about the weekend, about the evening. What we had was we had a set to open by the Copper family. And this is two generations, I suppose, up on the stage. The lady who's referring to Bob Copper as dad, the young Coppers, who are his grandchildren. They did some songs, and then there was just a sequence of performers going onto the stage, and mostly did 2 or 3 songs each. And the rule was they could only sing Copper family songs. They could only sing Copper family songs, or songs that Bob Copper is known to have sung. And there was a sort of an in-joke here, because apparently on about his 85th birthday, he revealed that he actually rather liked blues, and there was actually a record that I haven't heard of Bob Copper singing the blues. Obviously he's allowed to, because I never heard no horse sing a song. It's folk music. Apparently he said the songs that the industrial workers and farm workers sang in Mississippi were just as much folk songs as the English folk songs. I don't know if that's true. If Clarrie were here, she would be making a funny face at me, but she isn't. Ha! So I can say what I like, because Clarrie isn't here. Luke Jackson's brilliant! Roots is a brilliant song! Where was I? Now, I'm not going to be able to remember everyone who came on. I've written it down, but it was an absolutely just stunning... Pretty much everyone from folk music had turned up. Jim Causley, the other great folk singer from Devon, squeezebox player, came on and did 3 songs. I forget what the first one he did was. We didn't know the words of it at all, and that was all right, because they've just republished the Copper family songbooks. Some as they were to come onto the stage and hand him the songbook. None of that stuff mattered. I mean, it was meant to be the atmosphere of a folk club. Some of the people were doing highly rehearsed things. some were clearly just coming on and singing some songs, and that was fine. There is a, I suppose, tradition of the English folk club scene, of the history of English folk music, which I, who has only been really into this stuff since about 2008, am not always up to date with. So, for example, I was entirely unaware of a band called Oak, but everyone was tremendously excited that this band called Oak came on, and they apparently haven't appeared together for 30 or 40 years. We had Heather Wood, who is the only surviving member of the original band called The Young Tradition. She lives in America. She was wearing the most amazing dress. Sorry, I didn't tell you what Jim Corsley was wearing, because I can't remember. So that probably sounds very sexist if I'm commenting on the lady's clothes. But she really simply was wearing this astonishing dress with sort of fluorescent stripes. It was a June Tabor level of whoa. She sang a couple of songs, and then John Bowden out of Bellowhead, tall, and Faye Hyde, and someone else, Neil McSweeney, came on and did some songs as the bootleg Young Tradition, and of course she came on and did one with them. I suppose in a way the reason I was there was that Martin Carthy with Maddie Pryor and someone else from Steel Eye, Rick Kemp, just came on and did unaccompanied trios. Obviously they did trios because there was 3 of them. I think they did Streams of Lovely Nancy, and because Martin is amazing. Martin Carthy is the same wherever he is. You know, it's you know, just has that. Oh, it's Uncle Martin's come up on the stage to sing us a couple of songs, but he had to be very careful because there were so many versions of Streams of Nancy. It would be a bit naughty to sing the wrong one, the one that wasn't the Copper song. Robert, what was his name? Robert Dransfield did a magnificent Spencer the Rover with his 2 sons. The singer's 2 sons, not the Spencer the Rover's 2 sons. They were the ones who were gathering around him with their prattle-prattling stories. But he apparently, I mean, obviously It's a Copper Song. It's a song that everyone sings, but he reckons that it was to do with him that it got into the repertoire, I suppose, because he sang it at a folk club and taught it to John Martin, and then that became quite a hit. And then I suppose, in a way, the climax of the evening, I suppose, was Shirley Collins, who is the sort of honorary president of the English Folk Dance Society, who runs Cecil Sharp House, whose headquarters Cecil Sharp House is, to do one of the blues songs, to do what is the soul of a man? It's a good song. There were various other people came on to sort of be her band. Shirley Collins hasn't performed forever. I think she's one of those people whose voice just went away a bit as she got older, and she doesn't try to perform anymore. Not that stopped Bob Dylan. But she sat down and sang, and then just as it was being set up, Ian Anderson, who was chairing the whole thing and doing it very, very well. You have no idea how efficiently the whole thing was run. I mean, I think it was 65 musicians, and people just coming onto the stage. You know, there's hardly any set-up time at all. But anyway, they're setting up Shirley Collins and this band, and she says, "Oh, he says, oh, and we've got a backing singer for her, Linda Thompson." Sorry, what? So those were all the sort of the super big names. As often happens with these events, what I'm going to take away musically is some of the smaller bands who I hadn't heard of. Don't get me wrong, it's probably the only time I'm going to sort of be able to say I've heard Steel Eye Span. I've heard Martin Carthy and Matty Pryor together, and as I came in through the foyer, there was Martin Carthy and Matty Pryor were just sort of, you know, hanging around at the ticket office by the book by the book stand, just, you know, chatting. They're old friends. And I didn't, of course, but the temptation to do a sort of a "we're not worthy" or something, it was resisted. But I'm a fanboy, aren't I? I'm a fanboy. Spyro, I have heard before. Instrumental folk is not really my thing, as you know. But they did, specially done for the occasion, a medley of copper tunes in that modern folk ensemble way of playing the tunes and passing the tunes around the members of the group and weaving around them. But that was stunning. One of the best bits of instrumental I've heard in I don't know how long. An outfit whose record I bought, actually, and I'm going to say this person's name wrong, but it's Stephanie Hadowski, I think, and someone called C. Joins. They have done an album, The Wild Wild Berry, and on it they do a version of George Collins, which is a copper song. And so they, really on the back of that, been asked to appear at this event. It was very clear that the other two songs they sang, they were just singing them, whereas the George Collins was the one they thought about and done an arrangement of. They were very good. I bought the album. A little bit unthanks for me, you know, that thing of really taking it quite slowly. Everyone's doing that. Bloody Megson is doing it on their latest album. I wish they wouldn't. Unthanks, if you're listening, we love you, we like you, but sing faster. Sorry, but they were jolly good. But the thing I absolutely took away with me was a bunch called Stick in the Wheel, who only did one song, done a little EP which has got things like Bedlam Boys on it, and the guy organising it had heard that and said they were the exact people he wanted to do Hard Times of Old England, and it was exactly right. It wasn't a pretty version of Hard Times of Old England. You couldn't sing along, but there was and they hadn't updated the words. It was the Napoleonic Wars words. But there was a sort of an edge of despair and bitterness to it, and the main singer of the group is has a proper sort of East End Cockney accent, which really fitted that kind of singing very well. I'm going to listen to some more of their stuff, but I think Stick in the Wheel are a band to look out for. They're interesting, they're traditional, but they're not finger in the air traditional. It was also for especially for the day, there was an ad hoc band of Liza Knapp, Olivia Cheney and Nancy Wallace, all of whom we've heard separately, doing just through voice close harmony. Everyone said, that's got to become a thing. We've got to hear those people together. They've got to make records in that combination. It was perfect. It wouldn't have occurred to me that they had specifically picked "Babes in the Wood" as the thing they wanted to sing. One of the three said that they thought this was the most beautiful tune in the English folk tradition. It wouldn't have occurred to me to say that, but I know what they mean. Because Olivia Cheney is the person we've heard in conjunction with Alistair Roberts, and there's something of that sort of deep-rooted and slightly scary. Beautiful. And then, of course, the Copper family came on and finished off. They brought on three great-grandchildren. We finished officially with Thousands or More, which apparently was Bob Copper's favourite song. Although I'm not rich, although I'm not poor, I am richer than those who have thousands or more. Which, as they said, allowing for inflation, thousands means squillions. But then they actually wound up with, as an encore, they did Good Ale, Thou Art My Darling, which has been incorporated into a Julian Tito song, hasn't it? But this was the whole Copper family song. If all my friends from Adam's race were to meet me here all in this place, I could part from them all without one tear before I part from my good beer. And if my wife did me despise, how soon I'd give her 2 black eyes. What? Yes, I can see why Julian Tito didn't sing that verse. But yeah, anyway, look, I've gone on too long, but it was a fantastic evening. So actually, I'm going to take a break now. And shall I tell you why I'm going to take a break? I'm going to take a break because I'm now off to Constant Hall to hear Luke Jackson, who is a young singer who I've heard good things about, and I'm going to see if I like. Hi. So I'm just back from the Luke Jackson and Amy Wadge gig at Constant Hall. Amy Wadge is a singer-songwriter. Apparently she has written songs for Ed Sheeran, who I gather is someone that the young people listen to. She wrote his current song, which is #1 in the hit parade, as I believe it's called, and he's up for Grammy Awards and so on. She was very amiable. Essentially not my kind of thing. She sang one song about her grandparents, sort of indirectly about her grandparents, about two very old people who, as it says in the song, are old enough to know that they're coming to the end of the track and are going to have one more dance. I did think that was a very strong song indeed. Interestingly, the Ed Sheeran song, which you all know and I don't, but which she sang, is also, that's a young person, but sort of, we're still going to be in love when we're 70, so probably old age is in her head. Doubtless other people think she's wonderful. As I say, it didn't really grab me. It was an odd thing that she did the first set, he did the second set. She's certainly the senior performer. There was some running banter about the fact that it was being billed as 2 generations of singer-songwriter, which made her feel older than she's a woman about 40 with kids, so technically she's old enough to be Luke's mother. But she's the more famous performer, and she grew up in Bristol apparently, and there were a lot of friends of hers, fans. Someone who apparently she said was a fan of hers, or an old friend, I didn't get which, and who had brought 33 people along with him. Not all of those people stayed for the second half. I don't know whether her mate with 33 friends stayed for the second half. Certainly the people who were sitting next to me did not. I don't know why they did it like that. It would have made more sense. It would have made more sense probably for Luke to have opened and her to have done the second half, but then I would have left to the second half. No, I wouldn't. Of course I wouldn't. So, what can I say about Luke Jackson that I haven't already said? Sometimes with artists who I've built up to the extent that I've built up Luke, I start to wonder, am I actually going to go and hear them and find that it's sort of grown in my mind beyond something that any singer can actually live up to, like going and seeing Star Wars and for the first time and finding, it's actually just a movie. I think I did that to Chris Wood to an extent, that when I first heard Chris Wood, I was saying quite extreme things about how good he was, saying that I couldn't listen to more than 1 or 2 of his songs at a time because they were too powerful. I still think all of that is true. He's still one of my 2 or 3 favourite performers. Probably Chris Wood and Martin Carthy. I couldn't choose between as my top performers. I couldn't choose between them, and they're both playing on the same night the next month. Did I mention that? I have to say, hearing Luke again, and it's pretty much, it's the first time I've heard him live. I heard for a year. I went to his album launch, Cecil Sharp House, this time last year. So it's the first time I've heard him live for a year, and everything I've said is still true. He is still really lived up to my expectations. His voice perhaps is maturing. I thought there was more depth. Much more of his set was doing the blues thing than before. I wish Clarrie could have overcome her existential crisis and come and heard him. It's become a bit of a thing that I like him and she doesn't. I suppose really that would boil down, if we could overcome the it's a bit of a thing, to some of his songs can be a bit sweet, and Clarrie probably doesn't respond to that, and I probably do. He did one off the new album tonight, Fathers and Sons. No, it's called Father and Son, about family who are gypsies, who are travellers, and the mother has left because she wants a settled life, and they've moved on, carried on travelling. So it's both a story and I guess it's a metaphor about moving on. It's slightly unusual. I suppose it has a sort of if anything, the twist ending is that it seems like it's going to be a sad song, and it actually ends on a really hopeful note that the lad finds his mum, but she doesn't want to come back, but him and his dad are going to be okay. It's a beautiful, beautiful song, beautiful melody, but I could see how someone might think that it was saccharine, I suppose. I guess that's really, really all our difference, me and Clarrie's difference, boils down to. Beyond that, I'm down to saying all the things I've said. I've said before. I've talked before about detail and intelligence. I mean, obviously he's blessed with a voice that is an astonishing instrument. He did. Change is going to come tonight. A thing which struck me, which hadn't struck me before, because he does it unaccompanied, is because he's not playing his guitar. Obviously his hands are moving, or his hands are free, and they are moving. And it's like they say about actors, about inhabiting the role. There is all this gesture and movement in the storytelling. There's a line in the song, isn't there, about, I don't know if there's anything up there or not, and he just glances up, not in any affected way. I don't know whether he knows he's doing it, or whether it's just coming from how well he knows the song. And obviously he isn't gesticulating all the way through, because on most of the songs he's playing the guitar. But there's elements of that. It's more. There's a much stronger blues element to his act than there was when I first heard him. Some of that may be veering towards pastiche. The song Ghost at the Crossroads. It's a good song, but yeah, maybe the point of it is that it's using blues cliches. But like he finished on it was the opening song off the new album, the Sister, which is in a blues Americana idiom, but it's still it's almost growing on me as being one of my favourite of his songs, because it's fusing the two halves in that it's got that bluesy Americana riff to it, but it is a story sort of. The speaker, the character in the song, sister, oh sister, I need you to help me find my faith, and then this thing of I shot a man in Reno. No, I shot a man in Reno with someone else. No, I robbed many a man and I killed a man and watched him die. And I need to find my faith, not to pray for me, but to pray for him. Really good line. And he came over tonight so much better than on the album, actually. And for that fact, I killed a man. I think he stopped playing the guitar altogether, and he slows it up, and the audience is riveted. Really, they are. And then the climax, which is all sort of strange and almost mystical, of this woman sister he's talking to, the one you've always been looking for is me. I don't know whether that's that the woman is God, or that he doesn't need to find his faith because his sister's going to help him. I don't know. It's a complicated song. Actually, his lyrics, because there's that straightforwardness and honesty to them. They're actually you miss, but they've actually got sort of more depth. Like the Gypsy song, the father and the son. The father told the son to fight. The father told the son to hunt. But then the son leaves the father because he's going to hunt for his mother. I mean, it's kind of stuff. He did More Than Boys. Two standouts. He did More Than Boys off the original album. I hope he always does that because it's a song which almost grows in depth every time he sings it. I hope that when he's 70 and filling the Albert Hall, he's still singing that song, and then he'll be looking back on the young men. And he sang Running Out of Time off the new album, the current album, which is he said this time as if he'd sort of when I was on tour with Martin Joseph, I thought I'd write a really miserable one. There's the line in it where he says, "You get so damn tired from all the trying." And I get to say all this without being contradicted, because Clarrie isn't here. Oh. Okay, I'm done with the canteen. D-U-N, done. It is doubtless a good venue. It is run by the Mayor of Bristol, or more likely the man who started the canteen became Mayor of Bristol. It sells very nice food, actually, but it is not for the likes of me. As a venue, it is not for the likes of me. I think it is very telling that some time ago I heard Calico Jack in the canteen and I thought they were nothing special. I heard them in the tiny little pub, the Port of Call in Clifton last week, and they blew me away. Actually, they didn't blow me away, in fairness. I don't think they're the greatest band I've ever heard musically, but they do what they do, and they created a fantastic atmosphere. So yeah, let me rephrase that. I heard Calico Jack in the Port of Call, and I had a fantastic evening. It is very telling that Ushti Baba, who 2 years running in a tent at Priddy, have blown my little socks off, and they were very good in one of the smaller tents in Glastonbury. I've just been to the canteen. They finally came on. I left after an hour. I don't know how it manages to suck the atmosphere out of these bands. I mean, it's a free venue. I get that. And if we were just talking about a little gypsy violinist tinkling away in the background, it would be a different thing. But this is a band that doesn't act. It was billed to come on at 9 o'clock. They eventually came on sometime after 10:30. When I say they were billed to come on, it said Ushti Baba 9 o'clock. Now that means doors. I grant you don't expect the band to come on at 9. In fact, I left my little flat and wandered over there. I left about 9 o'clock, thinking they'll probably be starting by the time I get there. Probably from the band's point of view, they wanted, rather than doing 2 sets from 9:30 to 10:15 and whatever, 10:30 to 11:30. They wanted to do one 90-minute set, but it still meant there was a long nothing happening period. Although I believe that's what happens in the young people's nightclubs. A couple of times I've been to the Bristol, the place that used to be the ice rink. Is it the O2? Maybe, but anyway, that one. which is a big dark room, a big dark aircraft hangar which sells terrible beer. It's not like you're there, doing anything, but you can be standing on the dance floor there for 2 hours before the band you pay to see come on, and there's not much else happening. So maybe that's what young people like. The canteen is generally cabaret style. Whenever I've been before, it's cabaret style. They took the tables and chairs away at about 10 o'clock. There was a sign saying this table is going to be moved at 10 o'clock so there can be dancing and jiggling or something. So of course people flooded in, which was okay. I mean, yeah, fair enough. They want to get as many people into their pub as they can. But that happened. There was 40 minutes between them doing that and the band starting. While we were waiting for the band to start, there was music coming over the PA, of course, but it was a different kind. It wasn't the related kind of music to Ushti Baba that I could tell. Maybe I've gone to hear them Ushti Baba because they're a gypsy punk folk turbo jungle dubstep shoegaze band. Now maybe what they were playing on the PA was the turbo dubstep shoegaze jungle young people's crap without the folk music. I don't know. And when they finally came on, although unlike times I've been before, there was some focus on the music. It wasn't like there were people sitting around tables with their backs to the band having conversations, but much more so than at any festival. You couldn't really hear them. A lot of people were having fun, but I suspect that a lot of people would have been having fun whoever was playing. So I like Ushti Baba. I don't think Ushti Baba is music for pricks, as someone said, but that was not a good evening. However, I'm not actually complaining, as I have said on occasions before. I geek out over things. The reason I go to everything, or go as much as I can, the reason I feel jumpy if I know there's a gig on that I didn't go to, is it may have been a fantastic gig. Of course, I'm now really worried because there was also a gig going on at the Grand Barge. There was Americana gig with the 90 Stumblers and people like that, tied in with their beer festival. So it may have been that I would have had a better evening there, although I would also have had to walk about an hour along the river, so if it had been a disappointment, I would have been even more irritated. So, semi-festival coming up, sort of curtain raiser to Boomtown, at a secret location in Bristol. It's actually in St Paul's on Dean Street, where they're doing themed nights. There is, a ska night. I think ska is a kind of music, and apparently they're sort of creating themed environments. There's a folk music night that I should be going to reporting from, but there's what's described as a Circus Carnivalian night with them, with Calico Jack and the Carnivalians, I think they're called, and some other people of that ilk on the 6th of March. The 6th of March! Let me tell you about the 6th of March. And let me tell you why bloody agents ought to bloody talk to each other. On the 6th of March, in St George's, one of the nicest and most sort of classical venues in Bristol, Martin Carthy is doing a solo set. Yeah, great. Love Martin Carthy. I've heard him a couple of times this year. He's doing one of the festivals. I'm going to show you lots of festivals. But there, Martin Carthy. On the 6th of March, in St Stephen's Church, Chris Wood, the protege, to an extent, of Martin Carthy, is doing a solo set. I haven't heard Chris Wood for over a year. I want to hear Chris Wood. I want to hear Martin Carthy. On the 6th of March, at the Folk House, it's International Women's Day. We've got O'Hulian Tito, Lady Masery, and what was her name? Grace Petrie, the Petrie singer, who I quite liked and Clarrie didn't like. Clarrie isn't here. Grace Petrie is good. And it was a bit of a mistake to celebrate the death of Mrs. Thatcher. And now we've got the sort of Gypsy Klezmer Festival. That's 4 folk-related things on the same day. Please, Bristol promoters, get your act together. So, I've been Andrew Ralston. I've definitely not been Clarrie Maguire. And listen again in a couple of weeks when hopefully I'll have someone to talk to.